Hello and welcome back, everyone. Scootsy16 here with another episode of the Shuffle Draft Showdown, kind of. I have decided that I'm going to do my version of the Diesel Gasolina Shuffle Draft series that Prack Nasty just recently did on his channel earlier this week, or at the this past weekend actually. I'll put a link in the description for you all to go check his channel out. I imagine that anybody that watches my content also watches his, but if you have not seen anything that Prack Nasty has to offer, I encourage you to go watch his content. So good. He actually plays the games, whereas I just simulate everything. But he's got really great commentary, much better than I am. And of course, this all stems from a recent post on the subreddit for SMB4, where we had a conversation recently around the all I do is swing for power and throw power pitches. And then the discourse kind of went around how could you build a team that would be focused on power and high velocity. So what Prack did was he created a shuffle draft and just did his best to draft with the focus and emphasis around power for offense and velocity for the pitching staff. I, of course, can't just copy him. I'm not going to do that. I wouldn't. I would never. I would never do that. So instead, what I decided to do was I imagined a world in which I could create my team. Now, the budgeting part of this is still going to play a role, but I went through the entire SMB Standard League and I put together a team specifically built around power and velocity. I stayed within the limitation. If you ever start a franchise, you'll know that the budget restriction, the standard for a standard league is $173 million. So that was the value that I had to stay within to be able to create this team. So of course, this isn't like all A plus starters and everything like that. I had to build a team that would be a realistic and competitive team. I then imported that into a standard league, so you are going to see a couple of duplicate players here. This is the best way I could come up with this. But all of that out of the way, essentially what I want to do is see if I can create a team centered around power and velocity that could be successful. If you didn't get a chance to check out Prack's results, definitely go check out his video to see how his team did. But of course, he was within the restrictions and the limitations of the shuffle draft. And I broke down that barrier to be able to just choose who I wanted to put on my team. So let's go ahead and start this season. We're about to sim through a 162 game season and see if we can find success. But let's take a look at what this team actually is. I chose the sirloins for the same reason that Prack did, but let's go ahead and take a look at your Dieselina or Diesel Gasolina team. All right, so what is this going to look like? Well, you're going to have, of course, Harry Backman as your catcher. And he's going to be our primary starter. Not the best catcher out there, but of course, probably one of the most intimidating offensive catchers in the league. So he'll be our starter. We have Mimori Aoshima as our backup. She has that power rating. She also has a solid arm, and so I think she could be a decent catching replacement. Plus, she might also help to cover catcher when Harry might be DHing. So that was the thought for the backup here. Next, we have Jess Fowle as our primary first baseman. I wanted to go a couple of different routes here, but financially ended up being Jess that made the most sense here. Of course, you see the power rating and the contact there, so we wanted to put that focus there on the power. That's why we brought her in. Yacker Asherbaum is one of the more power-hitting second baseman that's out there. For financially being able to afford him was really, really nice. We also have Whopper Batsman. Of course, this makes a lot of sense, right? That huge power, low contact, but then has tough out to try and offset that. And this is going to be helpful for us as a bench bat and throughout the season. Rip Dingers will be our primary third baseman. He is a really solid bat. Everyone knows who Riptinger is, so of course he's going to make sense on this roster. Herbert Hackman will be a nice bench bat as well with that great power and contact rating. He also has tier 3 big hack. So we imagine he's going to probably put a few out throughout the season. And then John Renero, really great option as a power hitting shortstop. So those are going to be our options. Of course, the defense is a little bit weaker on this team with Harry and with Yacker Asherbaum, Rip Dingers, and John Renero. Weaker in the defense department, but it is what it is. Outfield, we're going to have Axel Torque as our primary left fielder. We'll have Marco DeMarco as our primary center fielder. Backup will be Maverick or Man and Moon with that tier 2 power versus righties trait. Then we have Hammerlong Ballo, of course, the cover athlete for this game and the captain of the Sirloins. So I kept him on this team. And he is going to be our primary right fielder and probably the biggest bat in this lineup. Of course, a huge 99 power with a plus power versus righties trait there at tier 2 as well. And then Chili Little will be our last bench bat and our last backup outfielder. Again, had to stay within our financial restrictions. Of course, that doesn't affect the season mode, but I wanted to make sure that I was creating a team that realistically you could technically draft out of the shuffle draft if it landed perfectly for you, or you could technically create this team and be able to have it balanced in the league. Rhiannon Cannon will be our primary starter in the rotation. She'll be our ace with that tier 3 elite four-seam fastball and 83 velocity. Olaf Slackoff will be our number 2, 83 velocity with a tier 3 elite four-seam fastball. Then we have Chasey Kim with 92 velocity. And lastly, Mark Harbormouth. And you're wondering, okay, why Mark? Well, 2 reasons. 1, elite cut fastball, even though he only has 50 velocity. But number 2, of course we're going to bring in one of the strongest pitching hitters in the league at 77 power, weak contact, but now not only is he a viable bench bat, but he will hold his own when he has to hit as a starting pitcher. So I decided to make him our 4th starter. We have Buzz Pastum as a long reliever with a tier 3 elite four-seam fastball and 87 velocity. We have the cut fastball from Cutter Cracker Barrel. Steamboat Wissel with his elite four-seam fastball, elite four-seam from Joanna Heater, and Rocket Ramon with an elite four-seam as well. So, of course, you see we went all the way in on the scholarly traits. There's 12 of them on this team. We have 3 big hack hitters, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 elite fastballs in the pitching staff. All but one of our starters have an elite fastball. So that our pitchers has an elite fastball. So yeah, I think I did the best I can. I would love to hear any feedback that you might have on players you would have probably chosen to bring in instead of some of the other options here. And again, knowing that there's a restriction in this, I did try to get to tier 3 for disciplined, but just the chemistry would not let it happen. It would have been really nice to have the fastball hitter, the low pitch, and the other low pitch trait to be ones we lean on here, but it was not going to happen. I also thought about tier 3 spirited with the power traits here, but it wasn't going to work either. So I think this is about the best team you could put together realistically that could be balanced within this league and focus on power and velocity. And you can see, look at all these power ratings here. And then you can also take a look at the velocity rating for this team. Very impressive outside of Mark Harbormouth as our number 4 starter. So all of that, let's go ahead and simulate this game. We will go ahead, or simulate this season. We'll head all the way to the end here, and we'll see if this Sirloins team can be successful in this league. Again, there are duplicates of some of these players that were not originally on the Sirloins, and that's the best I could come up with, so no big deal there. But let's go ahead and see if I put together a team that can actually be successful. We'll wait till we can sim, and I will just quick sim till the end once we can. Okay, let's go. And we skip ahead and oh no. Okay, I did not do a good job, I guess. Or just power and fastball is not the only thing we that can dictate our success. At 78 and 84, we end up last in the Boss division. We are 12 games behind the Blowfish, who were 90 and 72, and we had a plus 23 run differential, which is still good, but unfortunately there was no chance for us. Let's take a quick look at the wild card, and we sat 3 games out of what would have been a 1, 2, 3 game tie, or yeah, three team tie at 81 and 81. So, wow, I am bummed. I really thought that this was better, or that this team was better. I really thought we were going to see some big numbers, and I thought we were going to have a playoff run, but not going to be the case. Maybe it's just a fluke. If we simmed this 10 times, maybe we'd make the playoff 9 times, and this was just the only time we weren't. But let's do this. Let's take let's take a look at the team stats, and then we will take a look at the league leaders and determine whether we were happy with what we saw here or whether there was some letdowns. And I don't like seeing a tense Rip Dingers or a rattled John Renero, but let's take a look at the team stats. So, home run wise, we have 40 home runs from Hammer Longballa with 112 RBIs. He had an 888 OPS, hit 36 doubles. He also struck out 104 times, but I'd say overall looked pretty good here as our biggest hitter on the team. Only one other player made it past 30 home runs, and that was Yacker Asherbaum, who had an elite season as well. 32 home runs, 111 RBIs with a 774 OPS. A couple other notable names. We see Axel Torque had 29 home runs, 78 RBIs, a 759 OPS. We see Rip Dingers with 28 home runs. That's probably a letdown of a season from him, 77 RBIs. We see Harry Backman with 26 home runs, and then DeMarco and John Renero both with 20 home runs. So total, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players that had over 20 home runs, and 7 out of 8 of our starters. The only ones that didn't were, we won't count Hackman, but Jess Fowle only had 13 home runs. As far as averages go, we did not see very good average. Hammer with a 288 average. That's pretty solid. Harry, 279. Memori Ayoshima as a backup had a 291 average. And that's about it. A couple of bench home runs from Man and Moon, from Whopper Batsman, and from, Chasey Kim had a home run, but ironically, Mark Harbormouth did not. That's really interesting. But we can see that the offense, I think, was a bit of a letdown. We did go all in on the power, and it just didn't seem to pay off. Let's see how the pitching did, as that was, I think, where we were actually the strongest. So Rhiannon, a 4.14 ERA and a 1.33 whip. That's a bit of a disappointment in my eyes. Mark Harbormouth actually had the most innings pitched in our starting rotation. Well, that's not what you want to see. He had a 4.17 ERA. This is confusing to me. I don't know why our starting pitching staff was so bad. 5.52 ERA for Olaf and a 4.64 ERA from Chasey Kim. Then we get into the relievers, and we see a 3.41 from Buzz Pastum, a 3.35 from Steamboat Wissell. I think that makes sense. Steamboat with 231 innings pitched, and he threw in 149 games out of 162. That's insane. He missed 13 games. That's it. Joanna with a 4.53 ERA, Rocket 5.13, Cutter Cracker Barrel with a 5.27. So honestly, very disappointed outside of Steamboat and Buzz. We did not see the numbers that we would have liked to have seen from this team. Wow, both Steamboat and Buzz Pastum both had more strikeouts than all of our 4 starters. I I think this is a fluke. I believe that if we were to sim this again, that we would see a different result. But just really disappointed that we didn't get the results that we were looking for from this team. Well, let's see how that translates to the league leaders. Again, you might see a couple of duplicated players here, but let's see how our team compares to the rest of the league. So Hammerlong Ballo, the only player in our team to make the top 10, he appears at number 9. And you can see that a couple of a couple of pitchers make the top 10, as well as a handful of the offensive players. And man, Jackie Slam had a hell of a season. Let's take a look at some of these specific statistics. Batting average, no one there. Hammer tied for fourth in home runs at 40, and then tied for ninth with 112 RBIs. So again, solid season from Hammerlong Ballo. I don't think we were surprised to see that. Makes it in the top 10 for slugging. Makes it in the top 10 for OPS at 888. But Jackie Slam having a hell of a year. Actually, looking at her numbers, she was number 2 in. Oh man, our Herbert Hackman did not play well, but the Moonstars Herbert Hackman had 44 home runs. That's insane. Uh, trying to see if any of our other duplicates. Herbert also had 123 RBIs, which is crazy. And yeah, disappointing there. Hammer had 183 hits and 76 extra base hits. Solid year for him. Herbert Hackman had a hell of a year. The Marco DeMarco from our team had 171 strikeouts. The Marco DeMarco from the Grapplers had a 205 strikeouts. So way more for them than it was for us. Just Foul from the Sandcats had 167. Hammer with 101 runs scored. No one in the stolen base category. I'm not surprised by that. And no one caught stealing. We have Steamboat with 25 wins. We have no one for ERA or saves. No one for whip, OBA, or strikeouts. And then no one in the per 9 categories, the ratio categories. So overall, I'm pretty bummed with this team success. I thought it was going to go better than this. But in the end, I think, you probably are going to get different results if you're playing with this team versus actually simming them. But of course, that's what we're kind of focusing on with these long sims and this. I'll still put it in the Shuffle Draft series, but Shuffle Draft Showdown series. But of course, we didn't do a Shuffle Draft to put this team together. But yeah, I just figured I saw the conversation in the Discord, or I'm sorry, in the subreddit. I saw Prax's video, and I thought, okay, how could I do this a little bit differently and still stay on the same theme? And I'd be curious to hear your feedback. Do you like the fact that I put this team together and built it with the restrictions? Are you feeling like I don't like this because you picked them out? I'd rather prefer the shuffle draft. I just think the shuffle draft is a bit limiting, but thought this might be a fun idea. Let me know what your thoughts are. I really would love your feedback. I just wanted to have a little bit of fun and see how things would go in this scenario. Out of curiosity, with the time that we have left, let's start the playoffs and take a look at who ended up winning it all. It'll be the Herbisaurs, and it's the same team that they normally have, so no need for us to go look at that team. But the Herbisaurs end up winning in 5 games, beating out the Grapplers, who were the number 2 seeds. So good on the number 4 Herbisaurs to fight back in the conference for the championship there. I think we have a quick second, so what I'll probably do is just I'll do the same thing again really quick. Let's just see how it goes if I were to sim it again. I just am desperately curious to know how this ends up playing out, whether this is a fluke or not. So let's quick set the same settings. Get to 162 games. And then everything else stays the same. Put that at 7, and we won't do a shuffle draft. I really want this to play out better than it did. Um, of course, you know how these sims are so random, but let's go ahead and sim to the end. This, I promise, this will be the only one that I do, and then after this, we'll call it a day. And again, I want your feedback on whether this is an interesting idea or whether you're like, nah, not for me. They ended up being about 172-ish million, so it was like just underneath the $173 million budget that I had to work with. There we go. Holy moly. We have the second best team. Only we tied in record with the Nemesis, but they get one more run in their run differential category than us. See, this is what I'm talking about, folks. This is what it was supposed to look like when I put this team together. Holy crap, the rest of the division was not that great. But I'll be quick here so we're not spending too much time with everything. We know we're going to be making the playoffs. We'll be the number 1 seed in our conference. Let's take a look at our team to see how different this was versus versus the last time we ran this. So we get to Hammerlong Ballo, only 37 home runs this time, but with 113 RBIs. So you see a lot more contribution from the rest of the team here as John Renero had 41 home runs and 115 RBIs. Then you see Yacker Asherbaum with 41 home runs and 113 RBIs, just production up the wazoo from them. We see 31 home runs from Harry Backman, 27 home runs from Marco DeMarco. Let's see, who else? 23 from Jess Fowle, 20 from Rip Dingers. That's still probably lower than we'd like to see. Then we have Hackman with 17, Axel Torque with 16. That's crazy because he was number 2 on the team in the last. Oh, no, it was still Yacker, I think, but he had a much better season last time. But very funny to see the difference in these results just from one sim to the other, which obviously goes to show just how sporadic it can be. A little bit more production from the bench. Aoshima, Moon, Batsman, and Little all contributing with home runs. Mark Harbormouth did have a home run this season. It was a solo home run. But this is a much better result offensively than I was expecting. 302 average and a 957 OPS from John Renero. 273 or 272 average here. Yacker with a 287 and a 905 OPS. So yeah, I think this went really, really well. Let's look at pitching because I imagine that, yep, exactly. This makes a lot more sense. A 339 ERA from Rhiannon Cannon. We have Mark Harbormouth with a 568, so of course not that great. Olaf Slackoff with a great ERA there at 345. And then we have Chasey Kim with a 542, so he was a bit of a letdown. Buzz Paston still pitched really well. Steamboat Wassell pitched really well with a 339 ERA, but again, insane numbers here. He went through in 140 games. That is only 22 short of the full season, so he didn't get as much work as the last time, but still quite a bit of effort. He threw 220 innings, which is the most on the team. Second place in that category is Rhiannon Cannon, followed by Olaf Slackoff. So I think we got better support from our starting rotation, and that gave us a little bit more flexibility from our relievers. Cutter still wasn't good. Rocket was fine. Joanna was okay. But it allowed us to be a lot more successful overall. So I'm happy to see that. Let's see how that goes with the league leaders here. We have 3 players in the top 10 this time, with John Renero all the way up at 3, only the number 2 offensive player behind Guns Jackman. You have Yacker Asherbaum at number 6, and then Hammerlong Ballo at number 9. So this is really exciting to see. And we go through this, and we go John Renero with a 302 average in the top 10. John, Yacker, and Hammer all in the top 10 for home runs. Same with RBIs. Actually, the other John Renero also had 100, or he actually had 113 RBIs for the Sawteeths, but that's really funny. John led the league in slugging, followed by Yacker. He also led the league in OPS with 957, well above Yo-Yo Yamamoto. Yacker on that list as well. John and Hammer 1 and 2 in extra base hits. Just Foul with a ton of strikeouts. Same with Marco DeMarco. He just seems like he's a consistent league leader in strikeouts every single year. Um, John with 104 hits. Nobody in the stolen base category again. And then we have 34 wins for Steamboat Whistle, which is crazy. 305 ERA from Buzz past him. And 17 saves from Buzz leads the league. Buzz in the OBA category at number 10. Nobody in strikeouts. And then you have Rhiannon in the walks per 9 and also in the strikeouts per walk category. So love to see that. But 3 members of the top 10 this year, or this season with this new sim. Really, really fun to see that. Season standings really quick. Blowfish, the number 2 or the number 3 seed. Sawteeth, number 4. Wild Pigs are the other division leader. And then we have the Nemesis, the Wide Loads, the Overdogs, and the Jacks in the Mega Conference. Let's see how the playoffs are really quick before we finish up. And we'll go ahead and sim through these games. This is going to be a bit tedious. This is probably the drawback to having 7-game series here. We lose the first game to the Sawteeth 5-3. We sim again. This time we win 14-3, so huge offensive outpour. Let's sim through those. We have Allmeyer versus Olaf Slackoff. We end up winning 9-6, so we're moving forward so far. See if we can get another win with Mark Harbormouth on the mound versus Moods. We end up winning 4-3, so we barely eke out a victory there with our number 4 starter. The Wild Pigs sweep the Blowfish. Let's see with Rhiannon back out on the mound. Can she knock off lefty South Palm? We do. 7-5. We will advance. Oops. Almost watched that game. So we move on to face the Wild Pigs while the 3 and 4 seeds, the Overdogs and the Jacks, move forward in the Mega Conference. First game will be Chasey Kim versus Wes Yogurt. They had some time to rest, and we fall behind. We fight back, and we win 7-1. Huge victory against a great starter in Wes Yogurt. All right, next game, Hugs versus Rhiannon. We win 5-1. So pitching has been great for us. The Jacks win that one, even the series at 1 apiece. We're trying to go for the sweep. Slackoff on the mound. We lose 4-1. Jacks win 5-4. They're up 2-1. Same with us. Let's see what Mark can do against the Wild Pigs. We win 1-0 on a Harry Backman single. We're up 3-1 in the series. The Overdogs win. They tie things at 2 apiece. If we can win this one, it would be huge for us to get some rest before the championship series. And we will, 4-3 in 10 innings. We end up moving on in a 4-1 series lead against the Wild Pigs. Let's go ahead and sim ahead. The Jacks end up winning that series 4-2. Now we'll be facing off. It'll be our starter Rhiannon or our ace Rhiannon versus Alberto Roberto. This is our advantage, but we end up losing 3-0. So you take the first game, we end up losing 3-2. So maybe the rest was not good for us. Slackoff versus O. Oh my gosh, are we about to get swept? It's going to be Bellamy 8-Ball versus Harbormouth. If we don't light her up, then we deserve to lose this one. Let's see. We fall behind 4-1 and we lose 5-1. So Bellamy 8-Ball just shut us out. Our offense completely disappeared in the finals and we lose to the Jacks. We get swept 4-0. Really disappointed there. Let's take a quick peek at league leaders. Buzz, still elite in the playoffs, gets a number 1 spot. Harry Backman shows up. Same with John Renero. John leading the playoffs in batting average. Home runs goes to both Hammer and Harry. We have Harry number 2 in RBIs. Hammer, John, and Marco there. Gosh, I'm really disappointed. John number 3 in all 3 of these categories. Harry close behind. John 20 hits. Harry 9 extra base hits. A lot of strikeouts from our team. really frustrated that we faded against the Jacks in that last series. Buzz had 3 saves. He had a 121 ERA, which led the league. And look at that. Chili Little got a save for us earlier in the playoffs. Chasey with a .78 whip, which is really impressive. He also has an OBA of 138, and 23 strikeouts from Buzz past him as a reliever is really impressive. Steamboat Wissell, number 4, with 21 strikeouts. And you see a handful of our players in the top 10 of these ratio categories. But it wasn't enough. A much better showing this time, at least, as we made it to the championship series before we got swept by the Jacks to end the second season that we simulated here. But that's where I think I'll call things. Thanks for allowing me to indulge in a second season, which I'm glad we did because it was a much better result. Sorry if you were not a fan of us doing that, but I'd love for your feedback on what we did here. Curious to know if you like this idea, whether you think it sucked. How does it compare to Prax? Again, go check out the comment section, or not the comment section, the description of this video, where I will link over to his video. Would love for you to share and compare. Go ahead and watch his stuff. Make sure if you're not subscribe to his channel that you get subscribed. It's at Prack Nasty, and he does some really great SMB content as well. If you are really enjoying that, I assume you're watching me because you found me from him, but I encourage you to go check out his content as well. I appreciate all of you for watching and following along. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel, like the video if you do, and check out the rest of the content that I have on the channel. We have 2 great series running right now. Super fun ideas on how to use this game in different ways to come up with some creative ideas and have some fun. So thank you so much. We'll talk to you next time. Bye, everybody.